Alright, hello and welcome back to Ashgabat Cat's Let's Play That. Today we're taking a look at Densetsu no Starfy, that is the Legend of Starfy. Now, I don't know if you've heard of Starfy, but this is a Japanese-only platforming game starring a cute little sea star. And already you can see I'm just kind of brightening up the place. Now, unfortunately, I cannot read Japanese, so I may not be able to keep along with all of the deep Starfy lore, but we can at least keep up with the Starfy platforming action, or so I've heard. Actually, there was a DS game released, well, back in the time of the DS, that was actually a Starfy game translated into English. So I guess if you wanted to get a feel for how the Starfy series goes, then yeah, you could play that. But if not, then... Alright, so we're playing as Starfy, the little sea star in the middle of the screen. So up, down, left, right. Oh, interesting. So we are in fact underwater. There's no jump button because you can just press up to go up. However, gravity is still a thing, and if you hold nothing, then he will fall. Let's see, A button. If you hold direction and A, then you swim faster. And B button probably does something, but I can't quite detect it right now. That's kind of interesting. And especially with the music, it's almost like playing a, it's almost like playing an entire game based on the Donkey Kong Country underwater levels. It's not quite that style of thing. And also, too, there were like, so let's see, down an A, oh, up an A. You can go up an A. Strange. See, it looks like an up arrow. Also, well... who knows? Oh, look at the little guy go. Alright, so you hold up an A, you go up, sure. Now, that's kind of the normal effect of gravity, like he'll just fall down. But if you hold up an A, then he'll fly. He'll do his best Yoshi flap to kind of stay in the air. Now, unfortunately, he's not as good as Yoshi, and he doesn't get any extra air out of it. But he does delay his fall, and that's kind of cute. But yeah, already we're kind of setting the tone, like nothing we're doing is especially difficult, but it is sort of cute. And okay, so when we're on land, now you can run with B. And A becomes a regular jump. But yeah, it seems like the emphasis is a lot more on just kind of cute, fun, harmless platforming action, rather than, oh, I thought he was going to be an enemy, but no, he just wanted to talk. Rather than kind of violence and fighting. It's a little bit interesting. It's kind of a strange change of pace from a main game at any rate, where I mean, you're playing as a starfish, you see a crab, and it's probably going to try and kill you, and then you have to put in some more quarters, and you have to keep going. Well, that's kind of strange. In my world, tea kettles don't talk to me, but sometimes, well, you never know, and there's always the few people who tea kettles really seem to speak to, so... Okay. Oh, the crab wanted a tea kettle. That's kind of funny, because if I was a crab, I'd want to stay away from boiling water. Okay, well, as it turns out, these characters can really kind of block the way by themselves being just kind of impassable landmarks. So really this game just loves to railroad you, which kind of makes sense, because if I was trying to make like a game for young kids, I really wouldn't want them to get too lost, because as a kid there's really nothing more frustrating than being lost. Like if you've ever been a kid in a giant grocery store and then your parent kind of sends you away, then you're just all kind of lost by yourself, and it can be a little bit overwhelming. I mean, grocery stores can be overwhelming even to adult grown-ups, But again, that's more due to the influx of choices due to capitalism rather than I don't know, a scale size mismatch. Have you ever had the thing where, like, you kind of all of a sudden lose all sense of scale? Like, you just kind of wake up in your bed, but then, like, you feel tiny and your room feels really big? I've only ever had this happen when I've had, like, fever dreams, but man, is it weird. Also, it happened a lot more when I was a kid. Huh. I wonder what that was. Oh, I must have pressed the super secret screenshot button. That's right, every Game Boy Advance has a screenshot button. And by Game Boy Advance, I mean on RetroArch. Nobody said anything. But yeah, that weird sort of like loss of scale thing. And so, I mean, you just kind of like wake up and all of a sudden you feel tiny, the room feels huge, and it's altogether not a very good thing to be. But unfortunately, it's one of those things where, like, what's gone wrong is so clearly in your mind that, like, there's nothing you can do to stop it. It's like you're pretty much just like a prisoner to it, and you just have to put up with it for the amount of time it goes on with. I mean, eventually you kind of get used to it, and scary as that may be, like, well, I mean, it's just a fact of life. But anyway, this game manages to not conjure that at all. I wonder if you can use the horn to press B button and break things. Oh, ho, ho. What a spinning idea. So okay, now we can break stuff, and we're going along our merry way. Now, we won't ever be... Is that a talking shell, or is there like a snail stuck in there? Well, doesn't matter, he's along for the ride. So, Starfy is, and this can be discounted, but probably shouldn't be, it would appear to be a Metroidvania. Like, we kind of... Silly little star. Oh, so you can spin yourself... Can you spin yourself? Yeah, you keep spinning and he goes a little sick. So, yeah, Starfy is a Metroidvania game, which, I mean, that seems... That seems kind of, well, okay, maybe it could be discounted, because, like, on the system, there were, like, Metroidvanias by the dozen. I mean, there were 3, I believe, Castlevania games, 2 actual Metroid games, and, man. So, I mean, altogether on a system with Metroidvania, but what's kind of interesting is, this is like Metroidvania for little kids. Actually, now that I think about it, Kirby... Not the first one, the second one, Mirrors or something? Yeah, the Mirror Kirby game. That one was also a Metroidvania game. Sort of. It was set up like a Metroidvania game, but you didn't actually gain any additional powers. Now, there were some spots where you, like, needed a certain power to get past somewhere, but I mean, it being a Kirby game, these required superpowers usually in an adjacent room, so... There's nothing much. Oh, now we have actual enemies. Well, I believe there were enemies in the last stage, but they essentially did nothing. I mean, let's not kid ourselves, they're still essentially doing nothing, but at least now this is like 20% like the Donkey Kong Country underwater levels, not 5%. But anyway, yeah, Kirby Metroidvania game. That was an interesting game. Played through that in one very fever dream-esque day. Well, you know how it is when you're a kid. You take a sick day and your parents are like, are you really sick? And then by the 3rd day you're like, well, I can't go to school, maybe I'm still contagious. And your parents just like, I'm sick of you, kid, go to school. Huh, do we have a health indicator? Oh, we do have health. We have a finite amount of health. Although I'm pretty sure we still have infinite lives, but still, a finite amount of health, that's already different than the various Wii Kirby games where you're essentially invincible. What is it? Kirby's Epic Yarn, you actually are invincible, and like the only penalty for getting hit is you lose the amorphous currency. I'm pretty sure this was not published by Nintendo, but it really does have like a Kirby feel. Although maybe it's a little bit more blatant about like the powers don't really do much. Sorry, maybe it's a little bit more blatant in that, Oh, how's that for smarts? I thought for a second they were locked in the official Loopy Sisyphus. Anyway, like I was saying, it's kind of reminiscent of a Kirby game, but it's a little bit different in that it's kind of set up like a Metroidvania game. Whereas Kirby, like, I feel like Kirby is very much like a sort of binary progression thing. Like, you're always doing the same raw gameplay loop when you play Kirby. Whereas this game, like, you kind of explore around, you kind of piece together places, you get oriented. Like, it at least feels like the gameplay is differentiated. Although, I'm gonna be honest, I'm already somewhat hopelessly lost. Is there a map? No, I don't think there's a map. But it does seem like the kind of game where, like, if you were a kid with a lot of time on your hands, you would just keep on playing this over and over, and eventually you'd start getting to know all these places like the back of your hand. Speaking of games that, like, you keep playing over and over until you know, like, the back of your hand, but, like, still mystify me navigationally wise today, Echo the Dolphin. That game, oh my gosh, I don't know how to, like, navigate that place. And it doesn't help that if you go in the wrong areas, like, the enemies are strong enough, they will just straight up kill you. So I don't know, for those of you listening who may not know what Echo the Dolphin is, well, now that I think about it, I guess I would describe it as an underwater Metroidvania where you play as a dolphin, well, named Echo. He can shoot, like, the sonar beams for echolocation. But well, I wonder if this game actually has more to do with Echo the Dolphin than Metroid. Like, the creators were, like, looking at Echo and they're like, this is a really good idea for a game, and this is, like, a really good setting, but I want to make it more kid-friendly. Because Echo was not kid-friendly. I mean, you play as a dolphin, but that game was, like, hard as heck. Also, I hear that game got really weird towards the end. Like, your dolphin starts meeting, like, ancient civilization people, and then aliens, and then the dolphins are actually from space. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff. This game plays it, like, pretty straight. You know, for a game about an anthropomorphic starfish can do. Actually, speaking of vaguely aquatic, lighthearted action platforming games, have you ever played Natsume Hiroboshi? Oh my gosh, I don't know what the name is, but it's that delightful little game where you play as the girl with the fishing pole, and then she uses the fishing pole to kind of do all these physics puzzles to make it to the end. It was originally for the Super Nintendo, although they've released a few updated versions. Actually, there were some, in fact, on Steam, no less. So if you wanted to play that game, then yeah, you could even go on Steam. Now, unfortunately, you'll have to search Google for, like, fishing pole girl platform game. But, oh my gosh. Oh, we had to break them. I thought we were gonna collect them both. It's like, oh my gosh, treasure trove. But no, it was just... Yeah, I'm gonna admit I really don't know where I'm going, and I think I'm gonna kind of take a pass on this game. Now, that's not to say I don't like it. Like, I really kind of like what it offers you as a player. Like, it's a nice, cute, harmless platforming game. And so there was a period of my life when I had to sort of self-medicate with, like, the Yoshi's Island Game Boy Advance game. Like, I'd go through a day, and I just kind of sit down and I just play through a level. And it's like, that was sort of my tonic. It's like, that would kind of bring me back. It's like, no matter what happens, it's like Yoshi got to get to the end of the world. And it's like, sometimes you just kind of need games like that. Just kind of like a nice little peaceful, happy-go-lucky game that just kind of takes you back into the frame of mind. And so I feel like this game could easily be that for, like, anyone playing. Now, I do feel like this game would be a lot better if you could actually read what's going on. I mean, the basics seem to be relatively easy enough to grasp. I mean, you collect the stuff, you take it to all the people, in the levels, well, I kind of wish there was a map because it's a little bit disorienting, but I feel like it's the kind of thing where like the level design is almost distinct enough that you can get a sense for like where you've been. And also too, when like you're looking to just piece out, it's like you have way more patience for just kind of like going here, going there again, oh wait, I've been here, and just kind of exploring around, just kind of going around. Because the other thing too is like this game really doesn't have like a sense of urgency, but that really works in its favor because it's just kind of like a nice chill out game. So that was Densetsu no Starfy. I don't quite know what I was going to expect, and I feel like this was maybe a little more peaceful than I was expecting. I was expecting maybe a bit more, I don't know, action gameplay, but otherwise it's a pretty nice game, pretty cute game, easily the best game we've played so far. Although Monster Rancher Advance 2, I feel like, could have been a good game had we given it more time. Like, it wouldn't ever exceed what it like gave us gameplay-wise, but it would kind of consistently give you that gameplay loop over and over and over again. Well, I mean, that sounds like such a bad thing. It's like, oh, it's the same thing over and over and over again. But sometimes that's kind of why we play video games, even arcade games, where like it's all just kind of platforming action, and it's like, it's weird like replaying your favorite arcade game, because on one hand it's like you should be sick of it, right? I mean, you've already seen everything it has to offer, you've probably gotten to the end and all that, and yet it's just something about like doing that gameplay and just kind of knowing that no matter what, there's always a shot of that gameplay just willing to be injected straight into your body. I feel like that's kind of what one type of game can really offer. Now, of course, you've got like various RPGs that tell a story and kind of like suck you into its world, and those are appealing on a different way. But I'm talking about games that kind of appeal on just sort of a raw gameplay way. Like sometimes you listen to music and it's like independent of the vocals, independent, just the way the things sound and the things you're hearing just kind of are appealing on an inherently intuitive way. It's just kind of such a low-level way that like it's almost like a reaction in your body telling you that, hey, this is some pretty good stuff. But you also get that sort of feeling on like certain gameplay things. Now, one thing I don't like this game versus like another cute platformer like let's say Yoshi's Island is that this game is very kind of like free form. Now you'd think that like that would be sort of an advantage to it, like you can build up an expansive world, but like ask yourself, do those worlds really need to be that large? Because you play something like Yoshi's Island and it's like it's all kind of set up in discrete levels and it's like get in, get out. It's like if you want to play Yoshi's Island for 15 minutes, you know that like you play your level and that's not going to take you any longer than 15 minutes, so it's way easier to just kind of budget into your time. This game I kind of see as more for like a little kid who has a Game Boy Advance and the mom's kind of like, hey kid, I want you out of my hair for like 3 days, here's Starfy, and you're like, oh my gosh, this game is amazing, I'll play it over and over and over and over and over, and he kind of gets lost in it. I feel like Yoshi's Island is more like kind of healthy to incorporate into like an average working adult's life, where it's like, okay, work, okay, I'm at home, pull off the tie, lay down on the bed, and just kind of play through a level of Yoshi's Island. You know, it kind of occurs to me we've probably spent more time on this screen than we have anywhere else in the game. So, before we make the ratio a little any more absurd, this cat's got a scat.